Good.
On.
So I'm going to tell you about. I'd like to tell you about The Trial by Franz Kafka. I've actually read it a couple times, and I think it's kind of neat because I had just read The Sandman, which is like a superhero who is like in the dream world. Then I read Finnegan's Wake,
Okay.
which is like the dream version of like A Day in Ireland. And then reading this, which is like so dreamy, and if you compare it to like Joyce, Kafka is more successful in communicating a dream state. I think it's sort of an aside because it's what I had read. So, kind of famously, like the story is Joseph K. wakes up to two people telling him that he is arrested.
Okay.
It's one of the best one of the best opening scenes of a novel. He's in bed and he's waiting to have breakfast in bed. The landlady is to come and like serve him breakfast.
How old is he?
30 years old. And it starts off with him getting irritated that she's late and he like rings for her.
Yeah.
And then these two people show up. And he has to like hop out of bed. He's wearing like old-timey pajamas. And they just like confront him. And they go like, well, you're arrested. And they go through a whole thing. And like the great punchline is that at the end of that chapter, he's like, all right, I'm arrested. And then they go like, yeah, it doesn't mean you can't go to work. He's like, what are you talking about? They go, yeah, just because you're arrested doesn't mean, and they just kind of like leave, and that's it. And so, like this forced surrender, and so it's not worth mentioning. It's not even worth mentioning that the ceiling is only 4 foot from the ground or whatever.
They've all accepted it.
Yeah.
And I think that might even be the theme of the book, because I get the impression that like all this everything is just like, that's the frustrating part, is the whole time as the reader you're like, all right, like let's break out of this bureaucracy and let's just do like our thing. It's your only go around. And like, and everybody is just like kind of burdened with this stuff that they're just all accepting.
I mean
I feel that way.
It goes through the whole book. It's like one of the best scenes in the book. He goes to this cathedral and there's a priest, and the priest tells him a parable, and it's the story of a man that walks. He's walking down the street and there's a doorway and there's a guard at the doorway, and the guy goes, "Oh, what's this door?" And the guard goes, "This is the door to the law." And he goes, "Well, can I go in?" And the guard says, "No." So like the next day he goes back over and goes like, "Well, can I go in now?" And the guard goes, "No." And he gets so like wrapped up, fixated on this that every day he's going to the guy, Can I go in? No. Finally now, and like years are going by, he finally just like situates himself next to the guard. He's just sitting there forever, not going home. "Can I go in now?" And they'll like chit chat. "Can I go in now?" "No." "Can I go in now?" So finally the guy's like, it's his dying day, and he has like this epiphany, and he says to the guard, he goes, "I just realized, you're telling me it's this big important door, but I've never seen anyone else go in or out. So like, what's the purpose of the door?" And the guard says something to the effect of, "The reason this door is here is so you can't go in it." And then the guy dies. The priest is telling this to the guy.
Yeah. Well, the priest is telling this to who?
To K, Joseph.
Oh,
K.
to K.
Yeah,
to Herr K.
Herr K.
Huh.
After this, like the kind of the ending scene, spoilers, I guess, if anyone thinks that the book can be spoiled. The end scene is a year has gone by, and these two guards show up and take him away. And they're like going off to like some undisclosed location, and they're worried about Kay, Joseph. So like the one guy thinks he's like kind of cold, and he's kind of holding him to try to keep him like, concerned. And they get to wherever they need to be, and he pulls out a knife. There's two of these guards. One of the guards pulls out a knife, and Joseph is like laying there, and the two guards, they're trying to figure out what they're going to be doing, and they're passing the knife back and forth to one another.
Yeah, I had read the Wikipedia page, so
He's
yeah.
watching it, and it's comical, like, and at the same time, he sees like a little light far away, and he realizes there's a window or something. So there's somebody out there watching this absurd little thing.
I mean, that stuck with me. I read it. Okay.
And then they just drive the knife into his heart. Never finds out. Like, my feeling of the book is that he was guilty of something. This isn't just an innocent person that got wrapped up.
You think he was guilty?
He was guilty. Yeah. You don't hear too many good qualities about this guy, and the way that he like went about the whole thing. He was too adamant of his innocence.
I never absolutely reading the whole book. I at no point questioned his guilt or innocence. I kind of just felt I felt like a lot of empathy for the main character because at the time of reading, I felt like I was under all these like forces of life, beyond my control, picking my path through life. And the way he's always like talking about Frau Burstner, like his love life, like a parent, the love of his life, and she's always like kind of like this sideline item that he's like, oh yes, and like she's like the girlfriend, but like it's always like inconvenient and sort of like the sideline item as like a secondary to everything.
Like the second chapter, he goes over to the neighbor, the girl.
Yeah. And
they don't know each other. He's explaining that what happened. She's like trying to throw him out, and then he decides to like assault her. He's groping her and he's kissing her. And she like has to like push him out and shut the door. He goes back to his bedroom and he goes like, well, I kind of have to think about what I just did. And then he goes, I was pleased with what I did.
But yeah, so I mean, definitely he's guilty, but maybe like we're all guilty in some sort of.
I could imagine it being sort of like the painting in A Picture of Dorian Gray. So the sins that you see are your own sins. So you never see the sins that go into the painting. You don't really know what the person did. So whatever guilt or innocence says more
is
about
the reader.
Is the reader.
Oh, well, I thought he was innocent. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the last one. What stuck with me the longest was they stab him in the heart, and he says, and it's dependent on the translation that I read, but he says, like a dog, and then it was as if somehow the shame would outlive him.
Yeah.
The end.
He cries out, "It's like a dog."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Woof.
Terribly tragic, dark, evil novel.
But when you asked what one you would like to do, that's why I thought I'd put you through that maybe, for some of it.
The thing is, it's also it's one of my favorite books. He's one of my favorite writers. He's one of those benchmark writers that I compare when I read things. Like, is it as good as Kafka?
Yeah.
Reading something like he's at that level, and the reason is like he does so many things simultaneously. It's a book that's incredibly relatable to real life events all the time. Things are at the same time. When you read it, it's dreamy and absurd and crazy and totally unrealistic. It has these like slapstick theatrical comedy skits that like the Marx Brothers could be doing that are like laugh out loud funny, and at the same time the same exact events are horrifying and tragic and unfunny, and it's all just kind of spinning at the same time. Like it's an incredible feat. It's just any way you look at it. Like you can read it and cry your eyes out, or you can crying your eyes out from laughter.
Yeah.
Everything we're good?
I think we're good.
Okay. Comment if you'd like. And thank you for watching.